Good morning, guys. Hope you're doing well. Today I want to talk about the question, should I make a move on a friend who's in the same friend group as me? I just want to first thank the person who suggested this vlog topic. I appreciate it. It's a great question and something that I think a lot of people can relate to. To add some more context, the individual that texted me, they're in a friend group with both female and male friends, and they're wondering if they should ask a friend within the group on a date, because they're beginning to like that person. What they're worried about is the ramifications and, whether things will get awkward in the group. Should the person they're interested say no, or should something happen and then eventually, I guess things, people, they break up or something like that. Essentially, they don't want to ruin the friend group dynamic. I think this is a tough predicament. Obviously, with friend groups, they're special. And if you have a group of people that you can rely on, just as to be good friends and to have good times with and through support through the tougher times. I mean, that is a beautiful thing in life. One of the biggest predictor of happiness, I think is the quality of your friendships. In terms of directly answering this question, my stance on this is yes, you should make a move. And I'll explain my reasoning. The first being, from a pure relationship perspective, I actually think it's easier, to make the transition from friend to relationship, because so much of being in a relationship is interpersonal communication. So if you already have that down and that's good, I think adding the commitment aspect and all the aspects that dating brings won't be as hard. Obviously there are some people that are listening is, oh no, you should never date your friends or whatnot. But I would say, and I don't know the stats, but there has to be a good percentage of current relationships or current marriages where the individuals were friends first, and then started dating after some period of time. As I said, my personal opinion, having been in a long-term relationship and having seen other long-term relationships, the key to the success is honestly maintaining the friendship. Obviously things like attraction and things like that are definitely necessary, but as time goes on, not that wears, you'll always be attracted, but that's to me, in my opinion, not as important a factor in terms of long-term success predicting. I think that has to go more with the friendship. I think there's, in terms of long-term relationships, I think there would be less that go to, we broke up because of physical or sexual attraction, versus I think there's a lot more cases of, just we weren't vibing as individuals, our communication wasn't great, or we had differences in trying to resolve arguments, things like that. I think those are the reasons why, relationships won't last more than the former. So number two, I would say from a pure, perspective of life, making the most of life idea. I mean, listen, I say this all the time, but you only have one life. And for me, especially in situations talking about loving someone and, someone being the one, I always think you'll regret not trying to see what could have been than regretting if it doesn't work out. And a telltale sign of this is of regret, like that you'll regret it, is imagine you saw your friend get in a relationship with someone else. How would you react? Would you have a tinge of jealousy? Or would you be like, cool? And I think if the answer is you'd have a tinge of jealousy, I think then you clearly would love to try being more than friends with this person. And I would definitely ask him or her out. As I said before, obviously rejection sucks if it's a no. But I think regret is worse. I think, whether it's a year removed from the situation, 2, 5, 10 years, you are going to regret not asking them out more than you are what happens, whether they say no or whether you get into a relationship and then you eventually break up. In terms of the friend group aspect, which is the main concern of the individual, I think the interesting thing is you can do it in a way that doesn't affect the friend group. I think, dynamics can change, if things happen between two people, but if it's handled in a mature way, I don't know if, dynamics are going to change all that much. There are plenty of friend groups where certain people dated each other and then, now, they're fine even though they're exes, And I think also this whole idea of viewing the negative also brings me to the idea that we're not at all considering the case of the positive scenario. That if you ask them out, they say yes. And then B, even though there's a slight chance of this, there is a chance that you guys end up being in a long-term relationship or end up getting married. And I think if you handle it in such a way that it's pretty private, in terms of the asking out and not like telling other people in the group or whatever, like maybe more just, asking the person, let's hang out one-on-one, and then just bring it up like as a topic, like, listen, I'm good as friends, but, I'd be lying if I'd say, I wouldn't want to explore being more than that. And just seeing that person's reaction. And I think, with most mature people, they're not going to be like, oh man, a friend of mine asked me out. This is going to ruin the whole friend group. Like, I think they'll either be like, yeah, I'm down. I have, maybe feelings for you as well. Or, hey, listen, I love you as a friend, but I don't really want to go further than that. And I think we're just better off as friends. And I think, in that scenario, if the person does say no, you can always ask them to keep it private, so others in the friend group don't know. It doesn't become a big deal or a big topic point of conversation. Again, I'm not sure if the person will agree, but it's worth a shot. And again, as I said right before, like in terms of the individual's reaction, this is, I guess, wasn't something that the person who gave me this topic necessarily thought of, or was worried about, but maybe they are intrinsically, is I don't think the individual's personal reaction is going to be anger or madness. Like, what are they going to be mad about? You liking them as a friend and then also finding them attractive, so, and also loving their personality and so wanting to explore being more than friends isn't something like they're going to be like upset about. I think it's a compliment anytime someone asks you out because they like your, they find you attractive and they like your personality. Again, if they do say no, obviously there might be some initial awkwardness in the dynamic, but I think you two will, eventually go back to being who you are, eh, you know, the other thing I would say is if you do get into a relationship and you're worried about the ramifications of that, I mean, you can always make a promise, like, no matter what happens, you'll remain friends. And, like, should the time come when you need to break up, if you guys handle it in a mature way, um, you know, exes can still remain friends. The fourth thing I would say, and this I think comes with time, maturity, and being away. The individual who asked this is in college, and I don't want to say this in a cynical way, as someone who's 5 years removed from their undergrad experience, but I just want to say this as my experience. Um, I know right now, like, college and the community feels like everything in life, but at some point, like, you all are going to graduate, life is going to move on, people are going to move in different geographical locations, um, you know, things are going to happen, people are going to get into relationships and things like that, and time itself, how much you spend with people. Not saying that, you're not going to stay in touch with your friend group, but, um, I think people that are in high school or college have this idea that the friend group will always be what it is and forever like it is. But things evolve and change over time. And sometimes it's not even like anything bad. It's just people drift apart. As an adult, you have responsibilities and you have limited time. In terms of in terms of keeping up with friends. So, um, like, for example, like, for my, um, I've what I call, two main friend groups from college. And for example, one of, like, I guess I would even maybe say for both of us, like, both of them, you know all of us meeting together only happens once or twice a year max. And that's just the course of being an adult, us all being in different geographical locations. So, I all this to say, I know that you're worried about friend group, and that's the biggest thing right now to you in your life, and I completely understand that. But understand things evolve and change over time anyway. So, I don't know. I wouldn't say, like, I wouldn't be so worried about keeping that dynamic great, or like, solid. You know what I mean? Um, Hopefully that made sense. Um, in conclusion, I think all signs point to, making a move. It's risky, but nothing in life happens without risk. To go out and be, dating someone, you need to ask them out, right? Um, to make the game-winning shot, you need to shoot it. And again, I think if things are handled in a mature way, no matter what happens, the friend group won't necessarily be affected. So for me, make the move, live life, you only have one, and see what happens. Hope this helps. If you have any feedback, let me know in the comments below. If there's something, within this topic I didn't address, or some advice that you would give, let me know as well. Thanks, guys.